Welcome, brave listeners, to Wilhelm Presents Frightening Tales. I'm your host, Wilhelm. Tune in each week where I entertain my listeners with another dark and creepy tale of the paranormal, donated by authors from all over the world. If you are an author of some paranormal fiction and would like to share a story with my listeners, submit one at frighteningtales.com. And while you're there, tune in for more than 100 episodes of previous content. Today's episode is written by Paul O'Neill, an award-winning short story writer from Fife, Scotland. His works have been published by the No Sleep podcast, Crystal Lake, Sinister Smile Press, Scare Street, Vanishing Point Magazine, Hellbound Books, Grinning Skull Press, and many other publications and competitions. Paul would love you to join his short story club on Substack, where he and over 150 readers analyze the classics regularly. There will be a link in the notes. But now, listen to Paul's tale on the 13th Night. Kelvie sat at her dressing table, ran a shaky finger under her eye, wiped away a tear. It was stupid, getting herself so wound up. A week to go to the wedding, and she had a mountain of spreadsheet to conquer. That's what had her tears crouching in her throat, always ready to spill over the slightest thing. Even in the dark room, she could see the puffy red reflection of her watery eyes. She took a slow breath, concentrated on the crooked bridge of her nose. It had been squint since she flew off a swing when she was 7, smacking her face off the concrete just beyond the soft, spongy stuff you were supposed to land on. Aunt Polly had scooped her up, drove her to the hospital, where they tried to fix it. But it left her with a squint beak. "Can hang a coat on that thing," her aunt used to say, and the memory of it puffed a laugh out of her. That nose would be on show for all to see at the wedding. A trickle of fear danced at the base of her spine at the thought. "You know what to do," she said to her mere self. She needed someone to talk to, someone to tell her she was being stupid, that everyone felt this empty and lonely before their wedding day. The thought of Aunt Polly setting a hand on her shoulder, telling her it would be okay, stung something deep. Polly's funeral had been this time last year, on a scorching July day. Kelvie couldn't buy the official ruling of suicide. Why would Polly have done that? Why go to that hotel at the edge of St. Andrews to do it? There was no denying the scene. However, the razor, the red water. Polly wasn't the type to commit suicide. She was always so hale, so healthy, ready with a jolly jibe, laughing away at life. "I guess you never really know what's going on," said Kelvie, running her hand through her shoulder-length brown hair. "Am I doing the right thing getting married? I'd give anything to know what really happened to you, Auntie. I need you here. I need your help." She wiped more tears from her eyes, called herself stupid again, stared into the oval mirror. A sensation like a cold spider scurrying along the back of her neck induced a shiver, had her tensing her shoulders up. What? 2 pale orbs glowed in the reflection behind her. A ghostly figure misted out of nothingness, its dark, lank hair surrounding a long face. Kelvy drew in a breath, nearly fell off the small stool as she whipped around to face it. There was nothing there. "Going nuts, Kelvy," she said to herself. When she looked into the mirror again, she recognized the face over her shoulder. Aunt Polly? The apparition was translucent and wavy, as if her auntie were underwater. Her face was haggard and wrinkled. Her black hair clung to her face, lank as seaweed. Saliva dripped out of her mouth as she moved her lips, muttering something inaudible. Kelvy's skin prickled with the nightmare slowness of it all. Am I dreaming this? What happened to you? Polly's words were a clicky, mucus-stuffed shiver. The sound rubbed at Kelvy's brain.
Meet me on the 13th floor, on the 13th night. I'll show you everything.
When Kelvy turned to face her again, the ghost was gone. When she blinked, 2 pinpricks of bright light burned in her vision, taking an age to vanish. A sadness spiked her gut when she saw her auntie wasn't in the mirror anymore. She chased her away. Meet me on the 13th floor, on the 13th night. Kelvy had been right. Aunt Polly hadn't committed suicide. How many times had Kelvy sat in her car outside of the Karskardu Hotel, wondering what really happened? Knowing in her very bones that something wasn't right, that something else had happened there. Wait, she said, tapping her phone to life. Tonight's the 13th. She knew she should forget about it, crawl back into bed beside her snoring future husband, snuggle up. Sometime later, her shoes shuffled along the ugly carpet of the hotel. The floor had so many zigzag patterns, it was like an illusion that moved under her. The narrow hallway dragged on like it went forever. Numbered doors of the 12th floor on either side. She'd argued with the snippy receptionist, saying she just wanted to look at the rooms for a non-existent article she was working on. But he said no. She reluctantly forked out for a room. When she stepped into room 1201, she stood in the doorway, not wanting to close the door behind her. The room was the exact same as the one her aunt had killed herself in. Same crappy flowers on the wall, same cheaply made bathroom, same bathtub. She shuffled on down the hall. Her heart did a little leap when she saw someone else coming out of their room, slamming their door closed. The man looked so skinny, so forlorn. It was like he hadn't eaten in weeks. She went to open her mouth to ask him if he was okay, but he stomped past her so quick, she had to step to the side to avoid colliding with him. "Watch it, you mopey bastard," she said. He didn't acknowledge her, just strode on down the hall, eyes fixed on the ugly carpet. "Am I invisible or something? Hello?" Her voice bounced off the narrow walls. The man didn't look back. She walked on, wondering what to do next. Of course, hotels didn't have 13th floors. The 12th floor preceded the 14th floor. They were a superstitious bunch. She wondered How many bad things had this old concrete slab of a hotel seen over the years? How many had come to end their lives? Maybe people who built hotels had the right to be worried about such things. Meet me on the 13th floor. A shiver skitter-scurried up her spine, leaving her cold all over. Middle of July, but it felt like mid-February. Even her teeth were jittery as she crossed her arms over her chest, rubbed her arms. She thought of Martin, laying alone on the bed. A spreadsheet worth of tasks awaited, checking off tomorrow. A good night's sleep was all she needed to settle the panic whenever she thought of walking down the aisle, plastering her pretend smile on her face when Martin turned to look at her in her white dress. There was someone else in the hall ahead of her. Her stomach felt as if someone had a hold of it, pulling it down. The stocky man wore an old brown suit, shiny shoes. He shuffled away from her further down the hall. His walk was a stilted, disturbed gait. When she looked up at his head, she clapped her icy hands over her mouth. The man's head hung off the side of his shoulders as if holding on by the thinnest strings of skin and sinews. The lumpy mess of his neck was bulbous. It was as if his head had been snapped to the side in some violent, sinister act. She squinted at the figure. Was there a faint, ghostly light radiating from him? The world started feeling like a dream she couldn't escape when he approached a door marked with fire exit. He phased through it, vanished. You're losing it, Kelvy, she said to herself. This place isn't right in the head. She knew she should turn around, go home, sleep beside her future husband, cuddle into his back if she could stomach it. Sleep, awake, refreshed. Tackle wedding list. Grow up. Get it together. Time to...
Kelvy?
She flinched, looked about the empty, darkening hallway. Aunt Polly?
Meet me on the 13th floor. I'll show you everything.
She moved forward towards the voice of her auntie, towards the door the ghostly figure had just phased through. Through a thin bar of glass, she saw the dark stairwell on the other side. When she tried to pull the door open, her hand went through the handle. What the fuck? She tried again, but it kept moving through the metal. She brought her hand up to her face, waved it. The air moved gently over her skin. Am I even awake? With a giddy feeling, she closed her eyes, stepped forward. She pictured her forehead cracking off the door, rebounding back, having a lump on her head for her wedding day. She tasted the varnish on the door as she moved through it to the other side. She opened her eyes, staring about the dark stairwell, patting her stomach, arms, making sure she was whole. When she leaned over the thin banister, the stairs seemed to go down forever. An icy finger moved in her stomach, making her green inside. She backed away, looking up the stairs. It seemed just like every other stairway from every other hotel she'd spent the night in. Nothing special. That musty old carpet smell, the old-fashioned patterns of the carpet, the two large portraits of castles and other stereotypical Scottish fare. The broken-necked man appeared at her side. The orange stench of rust flakes and freezing mist radiated from the figure. His head swayed as he turned his piercing gray eyes on her, a question in them, unspoken. He took the first step. Do I follow you?" she said, hating the squeaky tone of her voice. The steps went up, reaching a small landing before turning around to go up the next set of stairs to the 14th floor. When the man made his slow way to the top of the first bank of stairs, he started disappearing from the top down. When he reached the landing, there was nothing of him left. He'd vanished, swallowed into some unseen portal sandwiched between the floors. "The 13th floor," she said. All the blood rushed down past her stomach, making her legs feel like blocks of lead. The heat went out of her face, making her feel thin and ghastly. Was she actually considering going after that ghost? She hadn't felt the same since Aunt Polly died. The news had brought the world crashing down around her ears, making her feel like someone marooned in a foreign land. Standing in the stairwell, trying to control her tremoring hands, she realized that maybe she dived into the proposal from Martin too quickly, trying to busy herself stupid because she'd felt so very empty inside. "I need to know what really happened to you," she said, placing her hand on the banister. "I need to know." Each step was an effort. It felt like she'd been to spin class for 45 minutes, hardcore level. As she got closer to the point where the man's lumpy neck started phasing out of existence, she heard a murmuring in the air. She tilted her head, trying to hear. It sounded as if there was a party going on, a gathering of chattering people just on the other side of the wall. "Here goes." She held her breath, closed her eyes, hauled herself up. Just as her foot was about to reach the top landing, a familiar voice screamed out,
Kelvy, no!
Her foot stuck the landing. It felt as if her soul was pulled up and out of her. Cold fizzed its way over her like she just walked into a butcher's freezer. It smelled like it too, like frozen water and sweet meat. Kelvy opened her eyes. She stood in what looked like a small ballroom with a circular stage in its center. The floor was covered in a thick roiling mist that played against her calves like breath. From somewhere she couldn't see, flickering fiery light fuzzed from the corners of the room, providing the only light. There were others here. The broken-neck man stood beside a lady who sparkled with too much jewelry, her dress something straight out of the 20s. She had a bullet-sized hole in her temple.
Kelvy!
She turned. Aunt Polly? There she stood, right in front of her, close enough to touch. Aunt Polly's eyes shone with a sadness she'd never seen before. It made her even more beautiful. Kelvy raised her arm as if to hug her, but a drip, drip, dripping noise stopped her. At the end of Polly's wrist, blood fell to the carpet.
You stupid, silly girl.
Polly threw her arms around her, held her close like she used to.
You shouldn't have come here. Why did you come here? Why?
Kelvy closed her eyes, rested her cheek on Polly's shoulder, breathed in. Her auntie smelled the same way she always did, like she just spent all day baking cakes in the kitchen. Polly broke the hug gently, held Kelvy at arm's length. Her eyes roamed over Kelvy's head. She bit her lip so hard, Kelvy wanted to tell her to stop. Tears made Polly's eyes shiny, ready to overflow. "What?" Kelvy raised her hand to her head. "Have I got a third eye growing or something?" All the phasing through doors and transporting to other ballroom realms must have played hell with her brain. It felt like her skull was too tight, like her eyes were gonna pop out of her face all of a sudden. She went to touch her head to see what all the fuss was about when Polly snatched it, brought it close to her own face. There was such a sting of sadness in Polly's eyes. "What's wrong?" said Kelvy. "Aren't you pleased to see me?"
You should have never have come here.
"I needed to know that you didn't kill yourself. I knew you didn't, no matter what they said."
You should have never have come here.
"You invited me."
What?
Polly's face scrunched up in rage.
This place, it'll never stop taking from us.
Kelvy opened her mouth to speak. The taste of the roiling mist about the floor fingered its way into her mouth. The mist rose, puffed, made a machine-like hiss, like a fog machine being turned on. "What's happening?" said Kelvy. "Well, it's the 13th night. It begins." In the middle of the room, the stage rose a couple of feet. Chairs scraped themselves over the floor as if pushed by ghosts, making a circle around the stage. "And Polly, what is this? I want to run, but my feet won't let me." The stage pulsed with orange fiery life, beckoning her to take a seat.
Hold my hand, dear,
said Polly.
Don't let go. Don't ever let go.
You're scaring me.
Why did it have to be you? It's not fair.
Polly sniffed, looked down at the mist.
It's not fair.
I just needed the truth.
The truth's too terrible for me to say.
Kelvy's feet moved on their own accord. Something overpowered her, made her move to the chair, forced her to have a seat. Polly sat next to her, clutching her hand, reaching over the space between the two chairs. Others took the seats around them. All of them wore ghastly wounds. All of them held biting sorrow in their eyes at the sight of her, this newcomer. They all looked guilty, as if they knew something awful was about to happen. Kelvy felt a cloud of dread build in her gut.
No, not that,
whispered Aunt Polly, squeezing her hand so tight the bones complained.
It's not fair.
What is it? The air in the room changed, became charged. Something was readying itself. The glow on the stage pulsed like a heartbeat, getting faster.
It's me,
said Aunt Polly.
They're starting with me tonight.
Kelvy felt the same invisible hand turn her head, forcing her to look at the vision that steamed out of nothing in the center of the stage. It was Aunt Polly. She fumbled with her key to get into her hotel room. All her days, Kelvy had never seen her auntie so blootered, stumbling about the place. The details of the scene came to sharp life as if they were all there, watching her go to the bathroom, start the taps with a metallic squeal. The steam of the hot water was on the air. alighting on Kelvy's face. "What's happening?" said Kelvy, panic rushing through her innards. The vision of Aunt Polly opened a mirrored cabinet, brought out something small and silver that seemed to smile in the fiery light.
"I didn't do it,"
said Aunt Polly next to her.
"None of us did."
Kelvy's eyeballs wouldn't bulge from the scene on the stage, her eyes growing heavy and sore. From all around her, she could hear the others sobbing, begging for it to end.
"It wears our faces,"
said the one with the hole in her head.
"Every night we must watch."
"Can't take this no more. My boy's at home, and he needs his mama."
Aunt Polly climbed into the bathtub, her face scrunched up in agony, as if she were fighting something off. Teeth clenched so hard it looked like her teeth would snap. All Kelvy wanted to do was to close her eyes, to not see what was about to happen. But her eyes stayed open. Her body felt like it bucked in a fear-spasmic panic. But her vessel stayed still, eyes open, watching the show, feeling the heat of the bathwater rise up her calves as if she were the one climbing inside the tub. Beside her, Aunt Polly whimpered, begged it to end. A fire lanced up Kelvy's wrist as the blade bit into Polly's skin. She tasted the iron on the air as the water turned red. "Make it stop!" screamed Kelvy. "Stop it!"
"You should never have come here,"
said Polly. "But you asked me to."
"It wasn't me. It was this place. It's not fair. It's not fair. Not you, not my Kelvy."
On the stage, the last of Polly's fight leaked out of her as the back of her head rested on the tub. The pulse of the stage slowed, came to an end as if mirroring Polly's dying heartbeat. The vision puffed away, broke apart. The only sound was the sound of sobs and heartache. Kelvy tried to stand, but she was still stuck, still weighed down by some invisible force. "I want out," Kelvy screamed, straining her vocal cords. "Martin! I need to see Martin! Let me go!" The crying around them increased. It was an awful sound to hear, a shared, gut-wrenching ache coming from so many people. Something told her it wasn't over.
"They got you,"
said Aunt Polly.
"just like they got me. In this version of hell, they make us watch. We can't blink. We can't do anything. Every night is hell. We didn't deserve this."
The stage hissed again. Mist coiled together a new vision. Someone else. In a hotel room just like the one Aunt Polly had been in. "What's happening? Aunt Polly? Tell me."
It shows us how each of us die. And when it happens, we feel the pain.
Aunt Polly sucked in a gasp.
No, don't. Anything but that.
Kelvy felt all the warmth rush down and out of her. All she yearned to do was blink away the unreal sight on the stage. It was her. Kelvy watched herself move around the hotel room, fingers twitchy as she paced. The expression on her face was sallow and gray. "What?" she said. "No, it can't." She felt everything, the strain on her arms as she pushed the window open, the summer wind moving into the room as she hauled herself up, dangled her legs over the sill, stared at the car park far, far below. The wind snapped at her like little hands tugging at her jumper, pulling her out. Maddened thoughts cycled in her mind. Forget the wedding. Forget about Martin. Forget it all. No, she said in the chair. No, it's fake. It has to be. We can all feel it, whispered Polly.
We're here with you.
But I came up here looking for you. I can still go. I'm alive. Let me go.
You never left your room.
What? From the ledge on stage, Kelvy cried. They all felt the tears fall off her face, given to the summer wind. The prickle of a sharp leaf as it spiraled touched her hand, flew away again. Somewhere inside, an awful courage was building.
Do you remember leaving your room, Kelvy?
Said Aunt Polly.
Do you really remember how you got here?
Yes, She thought back. She argued with the receptionist about getting a room, eventually paid, went to the room, and then... What? Her mind seemed to blink to standing in the hall, on the 12th floor. There had to be some in-between, surely, but there wasn't. She was simply there, in the hall. No, I'm getting married next week, no!
It's not fair,
said Aunt Polly, squeezing her hand.
I don't want to feel you go, not you.
Kelvy felt the weight of herself shift in her calves as she stood, wobbling on the tiny sill of the hotel room. As she let go, flying into the air, all of the ghosts called out, cried, ached. They all felt the night wind whipping around her falling body. The gray ground rose up to meet them.
Thank you, brave listeners, for joining me today. Please join me again next week for another frightening tale, or listen to one of more than 100 previous episodes. If you enjoyed your time here, please support my work. If you've been watching on YouTube, like the episode and subscribe to the channel. If you've been tuned in on Apple Podcast, please rate the channel as you see fit. And if you've been listening to the program on Spotify, I'd love to hear your comments. Most of all, share frightening tales with those around you and support today's authors however you can. Until next time, when I share with you another frightening tale, listen, if you're brave enough.